You have a newly appointed position, Assistant Director for Environmental Justice, that is Ana Mascareñas. How do you plan to work with her? And this is a newly appointed position that's never existed within DTSC.
That is correct. That is correct. And I'm very happy to have both the position and the individual in it. She comes to us with excellent credentials and just a sterling reputation in the nonprofit world as an advocate of communities. And she reports directly to me. We will be working very closely together. I was very clear with her that my goal for our environmental justice efforts is that we are not going to have some program over here that allows us to check a box and say, oh yeah, we have an EJ program. Her job is to help me craft a comprehensive environmental justice strategy and embed the elements of it into all of our programs so that it's part of the work that we do, not something that happens separately.
Given the proximity of hazardous waste in low-income communities, poor communities, communities of color, Latinos, African Americans, Asian Americans, poor whites, many of them who suffer from the injustices of breathing dirty air, being exposed to chemicals. How do you see your authority within the current regulatory framework vis-a-vis these specific communities? Because I think that when Kettleman, Vernon, other chrome plating facilities, I know that I've spoken on a whole numerous occasions, given speeches in general, not related to DTSC, but where certain parks are planned or parks are not planned, where chrome facility plants are permitted to exist, where battery recycling plants are permitted to exist, where junkyards are permitted to exist. I don't think it takes any genius, report to figure out they're in certain zip codes. Just like the poor schools, park-starved communities, they're in certain zip codes. It's very clear. There's a commonality, which is that common denominator is poverty. Within the current regulatory framework, how do you see your authority as it relates to these communities? Many of the communities, which you understand, are very, very upset, very indignant, very angry, and I would make the assumption, I'm not going to make a general assumption, don't want your appointment approved.
As I mentioned in response to Senator Leyva, I believe that it's critical that I interpret my authority as broadly as I can. I don't look at a situation and look for the narrow way in which the situation matches up with what my authority is. I look at the total problem and try to figure out how I can bring my resources and the resources of others to bear to solve the problem. I don't have direct authority over all of the problems in these communities, and I don't have direct authority over land use decision-making. Land use decision-making, as you are aware, is done at the local level, and it is a very tightly guarded prerogative that they hold. So I have to be respectful of that. At the same time, I think there are opportunities to work towards a better future in these communities. I have not only the authority but the obligation to make sure that the facilities that do exist there comply with the requirements that they have to comply with, and I need to make sure that those requirements are fully protective. And if they aren't, I have to make them more protective. That's my job. But it's also my job to look at situations like land use, for example, and as I did in the air quality world, find a way to sit down with land use decision makers and say, could we work together on some strategies to improve land use decision making around these issues? For example, would it be possible to do a model element for general plans to make it easier for land use decision makers to make decisions that help resolve these problems?
I don't want you to get too ahead of yourself on this issue right here, because I know you got a lot of work before you. So I appreciate the vision and the collaborative fashion with local government in terms of land use, permitting, and processes. So we're going to go to those who are in support of your nomination. Then we'll go to those who are in opposition to the nomination. Then we'll go to those who are tweeners, if you will. Maybe they're agnostic at this moment. They don't know where they're at. They kind of lean in support. They kind of lean in opposition, or they're confused. You know, we'll find out right now. So those in support of the nomination, Ms. Barbara Lee, please comment up. We're going to ask you to be brief with your comments across the board, those in support as well as those in opposition. Now, I don't want folks to get too comfortable either at the microphone. Now, this is across the board, so everyone can hear clearly. What I would highly suggest is that you manage your time, which is, I think, we're going to give 2 minutes each. Manage your time. Don't build up, and then in the last 30 seconds that you have left, try to articulate the more forceful points that you want to make. So get to your points immediately, so then your voices could be heard, your opinions can be heard, which are important. Okay? So those in support of the nominee, Ms. Barbara Lee.
Mr. Chair, Just Malone, for the local environmental health directors and the Coopers, that affectionate term given to the local hazmat and folks that do work on many of the programs with DTSC. We stand in support. I think Ms. Lee has the academic credentials, she has the experience, including with locals, and she clearly has the passion to make this work. Anybody stepping into this position must have the passion to do it. But the reason I'm here, particularly on behalf of the local jurisdictions, is we fully acknowledge that this is a team effort. It cannot just be done by DTSC, and for the local Coopers and environmental health directors, we stand by you and by her to make sure that the wrongs are righted, if that's the right way to say it, and that as we move forward, that we'll make this work. So we urge your confirmation.
Thank you much. Next witness in support.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem, members of the committee. Michael Shaw, California Manufacturers and Technology Association, here in support of Ms. Lee for Director of DTSC. It's been our experience, that she's approached the issue very fair-minded and open to the issues facing industry while still accomplishing the goals of the department, both and also her experience prior to this as well. Also note her academic expertise, in this area. I think is something that brings a full body perspective, to these issues. Our experience again with her has been very positive, and we look forward to continuing working with her in this role. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next witness in support. There's a microphone there too. So yeah, go ahead and use that.
Thank you. Senators Robert Gore from the Gualco Group on behalf of the business, labor, and public members of the California Council for Environmental and Economic Balance, founded by Pat Brown. We're in strong support. We feel Ms. Lee is exceptionally well qualified. In particular, we commend her for her extensive work with CAPCOA and local authorities. She'll do very well.
Thank you. Next witness in support. Come on up, folks.
My name is Alan Abbs, representing the California Air Pollution Control Officers Association, the 35 local air pollution control officers and air districts in California, all of whom have had the pleasure of working with Barbara over her career in air pollution control. Many of them are going to be appearing after me to express their support of her confirmation. I'm expressing the support of the people that couldn't attend but wanted to be here to give their thoughts on Barbara. And so I compiled a couple that I received. Her ability to fully grasp and understand highly complex and scientifically challenging concepts, her keen sense of collaboration and inclusiveness, her incredible ability to weave a consensus decision on issues. She has intense dedication to mission and willingness to put all of herself into every important process she's involved with. She has a drive for excellence in herself and for others. She has a strong record of involvement both at the state and federal level in environmental justice issues, and she sets the bar for integrity higher than anyone that I've met personally and professionally. And on behalf of CAPCOA, we strongly support her confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Larry Green. I'm the director of the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District. I want to strongly support the confirmation of my colleague of many years, Barbara Lee, as the DTSC director, and our 20 years of working together to reduce the impacts of air pollution on the health of citizens in California. I found her to be a consummate professional in her technical skills, a good listener, and a fair negotiator, and fearless in fighting for those whose health she has been charged with protecting. She's been elected 3 times as CAPCOA president, and that ranges from South Coast to the smallest county of 1.5 employees in California. That shows the range of people that she has represented and who re-elected her 3 times to do that for them. I wanted to highlight 2 situations where I think that they highlight her capabilities. One is she served as one of 2 CAPCOA representatives on the Cali PA Environmental Justice Advisory Committee for several years. I was an alternate on that committee. In this capacity, she personally wrote and then negotiated the final language of a range of important summary documents between industry groups who felt that they were already overly regulated and between environmental justice groups who believed that they had received far too little assistance from the state in protecting their health. And lastly, I think she is an amazingly tough individual when working on issues that adversely impact those who fall under her care, whether they be citizens, her fellow APCOs, or her family, where 2 young men here have been very fortunate to have her as their mother. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Jim Wagner, and I'm the Air Pollution Control Officer for the Butte County Air Quality Management District and currently Vice President of CAPCOA. I became involved with CAPCOA really in the mid-90s, and when I first met Barbara and was experienced with her work, it quickly became apparent to me she was a leader within CAPCOA at that time and continued to be so over the years. She had a way of working with different interests, as has been mentioned before, and bringing them all together. I wanted to talk a little bit about her strong abilities in the toxics programs, because it was back in the 1990s, particularly the late 1990s, when at the state and local levels we were implementing programs such as the AB 2588 Air Toxics Hotspots program and the new, at that time, Maximum Achievable Control Technology Programs, or MAX standards. Those were federal standards, and it was really important at that time to make sure that we got equivalency with the ongoing local programs. We were successful working in that effort. Barbara was a leader for us. My agency has worked over the years with DTSC on many projects, and we certainly look forward to working with DTSC under Barbara's leadership, and I firmly support her confirmation.
Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon.
Members of the committee. My name is Jack Broadbent. I'm the Executive Officer for the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. I am here today to speak in support of the confirmation of Ms. Barbara Lee as Director of Department of Toxic Substances Control. I have worked with Ms. Lee for over 20 years, and I really want to make 2 key points. Ms. Lee's work ethic is legendary. She has both great attention to detail, but also sees the big picture. I've seen this firsthand as she has worked tirelessly in developing and implementing many air quality programs over the past several decades. My second point really is the fact that Ms. Lee really does truly care, and she cares deeply about protecting public health for all Californians. She has involved herself directly with communities, and actually specifically with communities that are struggling with poor air quality. She routinely visits these communities in her capacities and has met with community leaders. And it just gives you an idea of the kind of passion and dedication of Ms. Lee. So, Mr. Chairman, with that, I just want to, again, speak for our support on behalf of Ms. Lee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Next witness in support.
Good afternoon, committee and members of the committee, chairman, members of the committee. My name is Chris Brown. I'm the Air Pollution Control Officer for Feather River Air Quality, which is centered in Yuba Counties, just to our north. Prior to that, I was the Air Pollution Control Officer in 6 years at Mendocino County Air Quality Management District, neighboring Barbara's district in Sonoma. And I've worked with Barbara since 2000. I echo the comments of many of my colleagues. I've found her to be dedicated, responsive. She's knowledgeable. She's really a bridge builder in a field where there's a lack of those. She's deeply committed to doing right thing, not just the easy thing. And she is very respectful of diverse opinions. She's very interested in communicating clearly and communicating in language that normal people can understand. And having worked with DTSC, we currently have a contract with DTSC on multiple cases and multiple issues. I think Barbara is just an outstanding person to lead the agency. When I first heard the choice, she sent us all an email. It came out of the blue, but I immediately went, wow, what a great selection. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Thanks. Matt Earhart, Executive Director for Yellowstone Air Quality Management District. Sure, Matt Earhart, Executive Director for Yellowstone Air Quality Management District. I've worked with Barbara for 15 years through CAPCOA. One of the hardest working people, most intelligent people I know. I think my colleagues said it already, but she'd be an executive leader for DTSC. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one, finally, a woman.
Yes. Bonnie Holmes-Jen,
All
Senior.
men in suits,
yes.
not a good look. You know, yeah.
Bonnie Holmes-Jen, Senior Director for Air Quality and Climate Change with the American Lung Association in California. I've also worked with Barbara over the last 15 years and want to express my and the Lung Association's deep admiration and respect for Barbara and her work. And I'd echo my colleagues from the Air Pollution Control Districts to say that she has a deep commitment to public health, to improving the environment, and to truly making conditions better in local communities. She is deeply committed. She is a problem solver, and I think she has endless creative capacity, and it's important for you to put that capacity to work for DTSC. Please support her candidacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Sylvia Solis Shaw on behalf of Mr. Sayed Sadredrin, the Executive Director of the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. Mr. Sadredrin has known Ms. Lee professionally for over 20 years, and she has shown great ability to dissect and analyze complicated issues, to educate and bring people together, with public health being the key factor in her decision-making process. Aside from her expertise in air quality, she also has been a top expert on issues related to toxic pollutants, as well as an expert in the implementation of air toxic hotspots and more recent changes from OEHA. While serving as co-chair of the Cali PA's Advisory Committee on Environmental Justice, she developed the first training seminar for land use planners on air pollution, toxic risk, and environmental justice. For these reasons, I support her nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other folks in support? Ms. Lee, any other folks in support? Seeing none, those in opposition. Those in opposition, please comment up. Those in opposition.
Thank you, members and Chairman DeLeon, for letting me testify. And thank you, Chairman DeLeon, for standing up for residents in East LA and for fighting Exide. My name is Lisa Tucker of Consumer Watchdog, and I'm the author of Golden Wasteland. I strongly oppose Barbara Lee's confirmation. Far from being a reformer, Ms. Lee exemplifies everything that has been wrong with DTSC and will continue to be if she's confirmed. Examples abound, but let me focus on Exide. All of you have the letter that I wrote. I spent a lot of time on it and on other examples. DTSC's mission is to protect the public from toxic harm. Just last week, CBS exposed DTSC's knowledge of far more lead contamination than anyone knew existed around Exide. DTSC has had those results since April, but Ms. Lee did not inform the community and all the members of that community at risk and did not announce a revised cleanup plan. Ms. Lee refused to answer CBS questions about this, but issued a statement that said, in essence, DTSC would not treat this as an emergency until people, children, exhibited signs of acute lead poisoning. Standing idle while children are poisoned is not a position of reform. It is emblematic of the old DTSC. No amount of exposure to lead is safe, especially for children. This potent neurotoxin causes irreversible damage to IQ. Ms. Lee needs to explain, perhaps the committee would like to ask, what her interpretation of this situation was, why she did not announce a plan to clean up a much bigger area. In this particular case, this is, in Ms. Lee's words, a total problem, a complex problem. It's not a slice, it's a bigger problem. We need to bring these things out into the open and have a public conversation about how to fix them and not hide them. In this case, Ms. Lee hid. She did not exhibit leadership. The public has had enough DTSC excuses justifying inaction, lack of enforcement against serial polluters, and dangerously insufficient cleanups. Exide may be the poster child for all that's wrong with DTSC, but it brings me to a central point. There is no accountability at the DTSC. It's not Ms. Lee's fault. She's arrived in a new situation, but there are higher level employees, regulators at the DTSC who stood by for decades and who knew about the egregious pollution at Exide and who did nothing about it. Why has no one been demoted? Why has nobody been fired? Who is going to hold government accountable if government doesn't hold itself accountable?
Ms. Tucker, we'll give you maybe about 20 seconds, 30 seconds.
You've got it. Ms. Lee has not honored past agreements to fully clean up the Santa Susana Field Lab in Simi Hills of radioactive and chemical pollution. I'm sorry. Ms. Lee has not honored a past commitment
and
to fully...
you can also submit your written testimony if you don't get everything in it.
Right. Well, that's it. Okay. She also continues to allow Fibertech to operate after 20 years of not having a permit when it hasn't cleaned up what the USPA said to do 20 years ago with carcinogenic hexavalent chromium in the water in Santa Fe Springs. Each of these things are happening under her watch. There are many more examples, and I strongly urge you not to confirm her. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Any other folks in opposition? Any other folks in opposition? Seeing none, those who are perhaps in the middle right now, tweeners, for lack of a better descriptive word, those who are tweeners. Come on down.
Good afternoon, President Pro Tem and members of this committee. And to clarify, it's not that we don't have an opinion. We would like this committee to hold over the confirmation today until we can see a few things. Again, my name is Ingrid Brostrom. I'm an attorney with the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment, and I'm the coordinator of the People's Senate. We've been working this past year and a half to develop a vision for DTSC to become more transparent, more accountable, and more responsible to those it is meant to protect, the public. Since Barbara Lee's appointment in 2014, we have sought to provide her and her staff with clear recommendations on what we believe is necessary to rebuild community trust that is so lacking in the agency. We developed an extensive roadmap to confirmation with specific agency-wide requests as well as community-specific requests. We received a response from Barbara Lee just last night, and as an initial matter, we would like the opportunity to review and ground truth the information in this document, and we would like the Rules Committee to have the opportunity to hear our feedback on this document before a decision to move forward is made. What is clear at this point, however, is that whatever actions DTSC has taken, it does not address the long, ongoing, and real harm facing many thousands of residents living in the shadows of toxic facilities and sites. DTSC's and ultimately Barbara Lee's measurement of success must be rooted in the impacted communities themselves, not in changes in bureaucracy or process improvements. While these are important, these by themselves will not provide the relief so desperately needed by residents who are suffering now. Until egregious violators are shut down, until contaminated sites are fully remediated, and until permitting decisions are equitable and protective of nearby residents, we cannot say that DTSC is succeeding. I have heard back from many People's Senate members, story after story of heartbreak, of financial ruin, of families torn apart by illness, and a sense of powerlessness. Yet they continue to fight, and they fight not only for their communities, but for all communities. I'm asking this Rules Committee to give Barbara Lee and her staff the opportunity for the next several months to work directly with impacted residents, to address their community-specific needs, and to begin the important work of rebuilding the community's trust in the agency. I'm also asking that this Rules Committee to request written commitments and timeframes to address each of the community's requests in the roadmap to confirmation. Without a concrete plan to improve community trust in the agency, Barbara simply will not be able to succeed in her mandate to protect public health and safety. We ask that you hold over Ms. Lee's confirmation today to improve the long-term chances of her success as DTSC Director. Thank you.